Hello everyone and welcome. This is Christine with Powder Crafts, and today I'm here with a design team project for Scrapping for Less. For today's card, we will be using all the items from these SFL new release. We'll be using this stamp set here called Winter Fairies. I'll be using the sentiment, and this sentiment says, "May you touch dragonflies and stars, dance with fairies, and talk to the moon." We have a couple of other sentiments, and it has this house, this fairy house. The other sentiments are warm winter, have a fairy, and fairy blessings coming your way. We'll also be using the Sleepy Fairy from this larger stamp set. This larger stamp set is called Winter Fairies, so we have two of the fairy images. I have already gone through and colored the image that we'll be using for today. At some point I do bring in the tree image from this stamp set, but the stamp set also has a few other sentiments and like a light string and a snowflake. We'll be using this winter and pink pattern paper from Scrapping for Less. It's got lots of pinks and really light greens. It's really pretty. So the first thing I'm going to do for my card is choose the two pieces of pattern paper I want to use. I know when I decided to use the Sleepy Fairy on the moon, I wanted to use this star paper. And then as soon as I found this green paper with all the trees on it, I knew I wanted to use that as well. So I've decided that I'm going to use the star kind of like as the sky, and then I have my trees as kind of the ground. So I went ahead and die cut those with a stitched rectangle die, and then on the star pattern paper I used a mini scallop border die to make that rounded, just to give it a little extra. So this white piece of paper is where I'm going to end up stamping my sentiment. I already took the die and found the size that fits that best. But because the fairy's kind of big, I needed something a little extra to go next to my sentiment. So that's when I decided I'm going to stamp out the trees from the Winter Fairy set. And we're going to go ahead and color those in with just 3 different Copic markers. I apologize that I don't necessarily recall which colors that I am using. But it's just kind of a light green, dark green, and then I bring a medium green, and then I'll go back over it with a light green. And here I'm being really careful, and you'll see that that ends right about here because I realize I'm fussy cutting these. I don't have to be as neat with my coloring. So I go ahead and lay down the entire lighter color. I brought in the darker color, like where the tree looks like it's overlapping. And then I'm going to bring in a medium green to just bring those shadows down just a little bit more, and then I am very messily going to bring in that lightest green again and just kind of scribble to blend all of that together. Once that is all done, I'm going to grab my scissors and fussy cut this out. I don't believe there are any dies available for these stamp sets. They don't look too difficult to fussy cut. I did, however, use my scan and cut to die cut the fairies themselves. I stamped a bunch out and then colored them in and then used my machine to cut them. But these trees were really easy. So I'm gonna just go ahead and finish that up. Then I'll bring in a black Copic marker. I don't recommend other people do this because it could hurt the nibs on your markers, but I am using my black Copic marker to just go around the edge of my image just to give it a cleaner finished look. Also, it helps to hide any of those like little imperfections if you didn't trim it exactly on that black line from the stamping. That hides it and it just makes it look really nice. So I put that aside and I'm going to go ahead and stamp out my sentiment. I did use a mod rectangle die to cut the white paper. That's going to fit my sentiment. I thought it was just something a little more interesting than just a rectangular piece of paper. Once that's done, I am bringing in some spun sugar distressing to add a little bit of pink color to the edge. I don't know, for whatever reason, I don't like just sticking a piece of white cardstock down on my pattern paper. I like there to be a little bit of a matte, and if I don't have the means to add a matte, sometimes just adding a little bit of color to the edges just helps that pop a little bit. So I'm getting my card base ready. This is a really dark green card base. Unfortunately, I don't know the color. This is one I had in my stash. It's probably something I received from a card kit because I don't necessarily tend to buy colored cardstock for card bases. So we're just going to go ahead and adhere all of my little parts to the card. Just using some ATG. You could use liquid glue or any kind of tape runner that you may have. I'm kind of debating like how I wanted to put the fairy on, because I want to use foam tape, but then I remembered I had these action wobblers and I thought it would be really fun to put that up on an action wobbler. So I ended up switching gears a little bit and was like, oh, let's get these trees on. And the trees I did want to pop up a little bit, so I am using just some foam tape for that. Because I felt like the sentiment needed to be offset a little bit, but it needed a little something to the right as well. So I just thought having the sentiment in the middle and the fairy in the middle was just, I don't know, to me when I played with that idea, it just didn't look appealing to me. So I'm just kind of taking the adhesive backing off the action wobbler. I don't ever remember which side's supposed to actually go on the card and which side's supposed to go on your image. I have done it both ways and it works just fine. So I have her on there, all set to go. Then I realized I wanted to add some of these Nouveau glitter drops. I think these are White Blizzard, and add that to the rim of her hat and like the little ball at the end of her hat. Then I'm bringing in just a little bit of Wink of Stella for the glitter on the trees. So that is my card for today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you'd like more information on these three products, I'll leave a link to the store in the description below. If you liked this video and you'd like to see more and you're not already, please hit that subscribe button. But until next time, everyone, have a great day or night. Thanks.